So this talk is for women in particular, spending long periods of time outside. And we're going to talk about two topics. The first one is going to be pee rags, or dealing with pee, and then the second one is menstruation, our moon time outside. So we're going to start with the pee rag. So this is something that I learned again when I was through hiking the PCT. So of course, my intention, no toilet paper. So then with that, I, as a woman, wanted to wipe after peeing to prevent moisture buildup, and also just feeling clean because maybe I shower once a week in that situation, a proper shower. Of course, I can bathe when there are lakes available to me, but I was also hiking through the desert at the beginning, so that wasn't quite the option. And so I had learned about the pee rag and having a pee rag. And so essentially what a pee rag is, it's nothing fancy. It is a handkerchief or a piece of material. I would recommend 100% cotton. You know, some people take a handkerchief and then cut it into 4 pieces. You don't need that much. And it is designated for you to wipe yourself with after peeing. So the idea here is that you're going to wipe yourself with your pee rag. The pee rag is going to hang somewhere. So if you're through hiking, it is on your backpack, generally high on your backpack to get lots of air, lots of sun. So the sun's rays is actually what the UV is what sterilizes the bacteria on the pee rag. If you're in more of a camp setting or a survival setting, you can put your pee rag just on a tree, and generally people will have, a spot that they go to. You can also carry your pee rag with you, of course, but some people will just let it hang on a tree. And again, you're looking for sun and you're looking for airflow to keep the rag clean. So the issue here, so some people, yes, if you're going for a day hike, you might be able to pee and then drip dry and then, keep going on for your day. But when you're doing longer excursions, it's really important to keep that area dry. So that prevents chafing. It also prevents the buildup of moisture, which can cause UTI or vaginal infections. And while we're out there, we want to do everything in our favor to prevent those situations from happening, which brings us to the solution of a pee rag. So here, what I did, so when I hiked the PCT, so that was a 5.5 month excursion, I did switch my pee rags maybe, I think once a month. I had just, used another piece of clean cotton, and I washed my pee rags every time I went into town for a resupply. You can also wash them in the lake while you're out, and then again, hang them to dry up. But like I mentioned earlier, I didn't necessarily have access to lots of water for cleaning, especially in the Southern California desert section. So let's move on to menstruation. Again, in my journey, this was something that I had to find my own rhythm for. It was at the beginning something that would hold me back. So I remember when I was in high school, I did not want to do any backpacking or anything really outdoors overnight if I was on my period, because that was just really, really edgy for me. As I learned more about it and found my own ways to get comfortable with menstruating outside. Just like everything, I learned to love it, but there was a learning curve. So again here, there's so many options and I don't exactly know what is best for you, but I will list some. So I'll start with pads. This is probably the option. If you're someone who uses pads, you can make this work, but I would say that this is probably one of the hardest ones to manage, just because of the size of pads. And again, every woman is different. Size of pads, and then also having to pack them out. And then the pads, just how the pad lands, it can hold a lot of moisture, which then brings you back to the same issues that you get with not wiping after peeing. So I would not recommend pads, but you can do it. If you're using tampons, I would recommend unscented for sure, for a whole lot of reasons. But using tampons, unscented tampons, and then ideally tampons without the applicator, so that you have less bulk to carry, bulk to pack out, and it just simplifies your system, and then you can pack and carry with you more tampons, because the size is quite condensed, especially if you're doing longer distances treks or longer time outside. So if you're using pads and tampons, so some people burn them. Of course you can. That might not always be in your realm of possibilities. So if you are packing these out, what I have done in the past and what I recommend is putting your used tampons and pads in a tinfoil wrap in one Ziploc bag that's then in another Ziploc bag. So you're double Ziplocking or double bagging your bloody pads or tampons that are then wrapped in tinfoil. So this is how I had learned to optimize the scent reduction. So we're really trying not, especially again, so many different conditions create different situations for scent to really take off. And so we want to minimize that as much as possible. Some people will wrap the outer Ziploc bag in duct tape to not be able to see through it. And I guess I had never done that, but I had heard that from people who didn't want others to see their pads or see any, hygiene products or anything like that. But to each their own. So again, finding your system that works for you. What in the end I chose to do is use a menstrual cup. So this is what I used on the PCT for the entire trek. I had one menstrual cup. I would essentially let the blood out just like I would use it in the city, but I would let it out away from camp. So this is quite important. You're still digging a hole, putting the blood in, covering the hole, and you want to be doing this away from where you're sleeping at night, and ideally away from where others might be sleeping too. And I did not have any issues, especially there in the desert where I didn't have access to lots of water. I was using my drinking water to clean in between uses, and just like the P-rag, every time I would go into town, I would boil and sanitize my menstrual cup. So there are some extra steps to take, but it is totally possible. And I found just with movement and feeling safe and good in my body, the menstrual cup is what I ended up using in the long term. So some people also use wet wipes. So this was something that I don't generally use wet wipes in my day-to-day life. When I started the PCT, I did carry wet wipes as a just in case, maybe I'll feel dirty. I was still learning my own way. So I did buy some unscented wipes as backup, but I never used them. So again, it's an option depending on your style, depending on your menstrual cycle, but I never had to, deal with this. And the last thing, I wanted to touch on is just staying clean. So if you want to not use the wet wipes, the best thing you could do is use a water bottle. So using a small water bottle and then just kind of spraying it. So using some pressure to spray to clean. One of my friends used what was called a Culo Clean. So it was this small attachment that you could just screw onto the top of any, your normal size water bottles, and then it would essentially create a bidet. So some people love this for pooing, for peeing, and for menstruation, just to feel clean. So hopefully that helped and that you learned something, and feel free to ask questions and reach out. I love this conversation. I think it's really important to feel comfortable, especially as a woman, while you're outside. And I've learned a lot on my journey. So I'm here to help and support.